Hey guys, it's Rusty Nelson, your college art professor, and today is watercolor day. And I don't know, are you kind of tired of just practicing, working on sketches and practicing your various stages and states? And maybe you want to start doing a actual piece of artwork. So that's kind of what we're working on today. I have a landscape we're going to work on. It's a scene back in Kansas I took last fall, early in the morning. It's a really kind of a gorgeous piece. It's a field of stubble with some straw bales sitting in it, and the sun's coming up, casting a nice warm glow on it. We got some clear skies, but I'm going to do something a little different than the reference. We're going to work in some clouds, and we'll see how this goes. It's going to be a fairly simple watercolor landscape, mainly because everything in it's fairly straightforward. We have some ellipses to draw. We have some basic shapes like rectangles and modified rectangles, organic shapes. So nothing high stress as needed with detail and things like that. So this should be a very accomplishable piece of artwork for everybody. As long as you've been practicing your states and stages of watercolor, this should be very doable. So let's get started. So this is the piece we're going to do. Got it all sketched out already. It's roughly based on the image up in the upper corner there. So nice shadows in it. We have some interesting colors and lots of opportunities for interpretation and exploration with your watercolor. So we'll get this started and we'll block in, do our first stage where it's wet on wet, a lot of color blocking, let that dry, come in, find a little more saturated shapes and colors, and then wrap it up with stage 3 where we're working in the detail and the textures. So this shouldn't take too long, even though we are making some artwork. It's not real big. I'm working on an Arches 300-pound cold press watercolor paper, and I'm essentially going to work with those brushes right there on the palette. I am working with my big palette with all the colors in a nice color wheel. I want to get a nice puddle of blues going right here. First and foremost, we'll mix up this kind of a phthalo blue. That's very saturated right there, but I need a good puddle of it. So I'm going to just thin it out a little bit. I do want the blues to be a little more saturated in my watercolor than what you see in the reference image. So great big puddle of blue, and we'll come in and we'll just start dropping it in, wet on wet, wet on dry. So I'm just getting a second brush ready, and it's not going to have any pigment in it. And we'll just come in and we'll just start dropping in there we go. And as it's wet, I'm going to come over here and we'll just soften out some of those fuzzy edges. There we go. Make kind of a cloudy sky effort going on there with the colors. There we go. Cool. All right. And we'll just keep softening. Get a little blues again. Drop in that saturated color. Here we go. Cool. All right, so get my damp brush again. This is mostly just water, even though the water I just dipped it into is fairly, it's got some blue in it, but we're just carrying the cloud effect, the nice soft cloud effect down. All right, we'll just soften that up, keep pushing. I'm going to paint around the hay bales. There we go. All right, so we have a nice looking sky with some clouds in it. Soft clouds, nice little cloud line. All right, so I did a real quick blocking of the sky with some clouds in it. It's very wet right now, but I'm going to come in, I'm going to lay in a little yellow at the lower end, lower portion of the skyline right down by the horizon. If you notice, there's a couple of hairy pieces on my piece. I don't want to deal with them. Just let it dry. They're not going to bother anything, and as soon as it dries, I can just brush them away and we should be good. All right, so we've really already worked up all we need to work up with the blues, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of yellow ochre right here. There we go. I'm going to throw a little bit of this color in there. It's a little more of an orange. All right, and I'm going to really loosen it up. There's not a lot of pigment there, and I'm just going to drop a bit of it into the lower portions right down here by the sky, or the horizon, sorry. There we go. It's damp. It should fuzz out nicely. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to just unload my brush. I'm just going to brush it around, soften it up. Just a nice, soft, suggested color right down there by the horizon. The sky color has been blocked. I don't want to do any more to it. I don't want to overwork it. I just want everything to be nice, loose, and fresh. And I'm just going to let that be for a few minutes, let it dry, and then we're going to color block the foreground, the middle ground and the foreground of the oranges and yellow ochres into the piece. So there are some really nice blues on the tops and on the sides of the bales that I'm going to block in as well. So let's let this dry. We'll just be patient and try not to push it. If I see anything students do at this stage is they're not patient enough to let the piece dry enough to start working on the next stage. So hang on, be patient, and we'll get there. All right, well, it's dried enough. I'm going to come in, I'm going to take some of that blue, I'm going to add it to the top of the hay bales where it's catching the sunlight. It's kind of a shadow side, I guess. So it's not really the lit side, but it's a cool side. It's the coolness of that shadow that I'm going to accentuate on the side of the bales. So let's get started on that. So here it is, and we're going to just throw the photograph. You can kind of see, if you look real close, there's some blues on the tops of these bales. So these are not the bales I was used to when I was a kid living on the farm. They came along later when I was a young adult, but my favorite ones were the square bales. We spent a lot of time throwing a lot of square bales into the hayloft. They were about 100 pounds, and at the time I barely broke 120 pounds, so I was throwing almost my body weight at that time. So as miserable as that was, it's one of my fondest memories of growing up on the farm, being out in the hayfield, throwing bales up into the top of the building, those hay sheds. All right, so we got some nice blues on the tops of those foreground bales. I'm just going to hit a few right back here. This is dried enough. It shouldn't spread. Just a nice line on all of them. There are the shadows on that. Right up here. And right up over here. And even on this one. So, all right. Nice shadows. Already working in some of those cool shadows. So this is that point when you do use cools to affect the shadow side of the bale. So I'm going to block that out. Just feather it a little bit. And let me mop up that color real quick. All right, now we're going to get started. I'm going to get a little bigger brush. Got a number 5 right now. I'm going to get some of this raw umber. Nice orangish color, but I want to get this hotter golden color right in there as well. All right, I'm going to mix a little bit of an orange over here. There we go. Throw a little more of this over here. All right, so we essentially have three colors we're going to kind of block in. And I'm going to start with this golden color first. And we'll just rake it across the top right up here and really establish that horizon line. And I'm going to work around this hay bale right here. I'm going to leave the far hills for later. And I'm mainly going to keep around the hay bales. Try not to contaminate the color too much. I got this golden color and a bit of it onto this face right here. I'll just even put the whole thing across. All right. And we'll just keep going. Maybe a little more yellow in there. Throw it right across the top here. Like that. Cool. Right across like there. All right, then I'm going to get this other color, a little more of a brown. And it's still very wet, so we should get some nice interactions right in there. Maybe you can throw a little more orange in there. There we go. Yeah, now we're talking. Throw a little bit of it off into the distance there like that. Come back to that golden color. Pull it on down right along in here. Now that's dried, so it's got a pretty sharp edge. There we go. Come back to our gold or brownish color. Right in there like that. Just really just covering the white up. Getting the right tones going on in here. I even see a little smidge of a red. How about that? We'll just throw a little touch of red right in there. This is very subtle. Just a nice change in the color. There we go. Again, we're just blocking at this point and getting some base colors to work with within our next stage. All right. All right. That's all very wet and we got some nice movement going on there. But I want to add, I'm going to add some violet in here for this shadow. That shadow is going to come right along the underneath side of this hay bale right there. It's going to interact nicely with that yellowish gold. I'm going to throw a little bit of it right up under here as well. There we go. Right along in here. All right, and we'll pull it right over to the other one. And we'll throw it right in here like that. So we just got a little more density and saturation right in here. Throw a little bit right up on this edge. And we'll just throw a little more right in through here. Right like that. Organic shapes. You'll get the hang of it. Soft edges. All right. And let's just soften this out. There we go. All right. So we got some interesting things starting to happen. There we go. A little bit of it right back there. And right up along there. All right, cool. All right, there we go. We have now blocked the foreground colors, and now I'm going to get a little more of a burnt sienna and a little bit of a burnt umber in here with that purple for a darker brown, reddish brown. That purple's adding a nice red tinge to it. We're going to come in and we're going to start working on some of the shadow sides over here. I'm just going to drop in all of that pigment right there on the side of that. Come up and then feather it out. Trying to protect that blue. There we go. And we're going to come up along this side. Cool. And we're going to get this one. This one is predominantly blue. So we're going to be real careful and we'll just pull these darker things. I'm just going to feather this out. It's going to be darker on this side, but there's going to be a little more orange in it. So we'll feather this just a little bit. We don't want sharp edges, we want soft edges here. There we go. Same thing about right up here. We'll just paint those in. Those shapes. Same way with this one. And then these are off. Just see the top of the ellipse there. We'll just define the lower edge of it. So all of these are really kind of working in the same way. Real simple shapes that we're just suggesting. All right, those are drying. We'll soften them a little bit. They're in the distance. There's not a lot of detail you're going to distinguish on those. So the less you do, the better. All right. Just let those colors come together. And we're starting to get some interesting things happening. We got some nice drying and some nice color effects happening there. But I'm going to go ahead and grab that purple. I'm going to get more of a bluish purple, more of a true violet right there. And I'm going to hit just a smidge of that red. Come on, there we go. Very thin, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to hit the very far hill right back there with the purple. That horizon line right in through here. You just keep and pull it all the way over. Right into like that. And then I'm going to get some of this blue. More of a blue instead of a purple now, and I'm going to hit the rest of it right underneath it. Just put that right in there, right around that hay bale. Still painting around them. All right, so nice blue hill. And then I'm going to feather it. Just going to feather it out, add water into it. Let all those colors kind of mix together. All right. And I know there we go. And I know that hair is driving you bananas. I can feel it. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to brush it off. It's dried enough. Same with this one. Oh, there we go. Got a couple little smudgies right in there. Uh-oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to fix it. All right, let's see if I can. I did it there too, so let's see if I can fix it. This is scary. This is scary. I'm just going to loosen it up with a little water. Make some irregular marks. And then maybe even just dab it just a little bit. There we go. All right, I also have one right here that I'm going to fix. There, I got him. And there's one right up here. There we go. I just touched it with a damp brush and it stuck to the end of my brush, right like that. Same with that. There it is. Nope, almost. There we go. So I just cleaned up the sky. Everything down here is drying. So we're going to let this dry and we're going to go after it in just a second. And we should wrap it up pretty quick. So we have gone through stage 1 twice. And then we've done a quick stage 2 where we've found shapes and added some additional colors. So we really do have it blocked in and it's starting to take shape. Now it's stage 3 and this is where we're going to start adding our contrast, our textures, and our detail to pull this piece together. So like I said, luckily it's not a highly detailed piece. There's no structures or anything. It's all organic, so we can get real inventive and have a lot of fun with this. So first thing I'm going to do is mix up some really dark darks with a fine brush, and we're going to kind of paint in some structure on some of the bales. And then we're going to do some heavy duty glazing and get the saturation kicked up. So this should be fun. All right, so like I said, we need some dark darks. So I'm going to get some of this deep sepia, and I'm going to get some blues, and it's going to be fairly thick. Get some of that purple over here too. There we go. All right, so fine brush, number 1 brush, and we're just going to bounce around. The piece is dried nicely, so we're just going to come in and really just start doing a little drawing and see where it'll go. All right. I'm just going to drop it in and I'll loosen it up as we get going. Oh, I need to add some yellows and oranges to that. This side's a darker. There we go. Yep, I'll just come in, just loosen that up right down to the surface right there. Cool. Same with this one. You're going to see that ellipse on the front of the bale. The back side is going to be a lot more dark. edge there. There we go. So we're really starting to get some of that contrast into it. Here we go. This one's darker on this side. Feather it out, pull it over. There we go. All right, and let me get that face on these two are going to be fairly yellow and orange. I'm going to get some of that golden yellow right in there. A little more of the orange. Get a bigger brush. There we go. All right, and this one's going to be very yellow, so throw that face on. Right in here like that. And it's very yellow under here. And this one has a hint of it, but it's mostly in a cool. Has more of a purple feel to it, so mostly right in there like that. Feather it out, feather it out. And then up here, I'm going to hit and glaze that color a little more on that side of the bail. Throw a little bit of it on those. There we go. Good. All right. So back to my little brush. Thick and dark. I'm going to come in, I'm going to just kind of define the lower portions of these bales, the detail. Try to get that crunchy edge where the stubble's working on the lower portion of it. There we go. Same thing there. All right. Very basic shapes. There we go. And even right up here, this is a highly defined edge right there. Good. All right. And I'm going to just simply get a little more of a brown to it with a little burnt sienna in there. There we go. Follow it right along the edge and right along in through here like that. Right up along this edge. Down here. Little dry brush, soften it up. Just creating textures. All right, do the same thing over here. It's darker on this back side of it. Comes up right along this edge. Defines that ellipse at the front. All right. I'm going to soften it a little bit. There we go. Again, doing it in a way the marks are suggesting form. All right, and there's even a very, very thin definition edge right up here. So we're just going to kind of drop in a broken, irregular, broken edge and then soften this side of it. We want the dark part on the back side. And I'm going to get a little bit of it right back on this one as well. Just it's a line to help define, but I don't want it to be an outline. There we go. That's looking pretty good. All right, I'm going to get that hot orange right there. And I'm going to hit the orange right in there. Hit this orange right back in here as well. All right. And I'm going to get this edge right there. All right, cool. Starting to get some nice textures happening. So now I'm bouncing around with some of these colors just for contrast. Some darks against some lights. All right, and I still have to bring in a more saturated dark shadow right along in through here. But before I do, I want to get a little more of this golden color right up here. And I'm just going to saturate a little more of that color right in here. Right in through here. And using it to create some textures. Okay. I want a little more of it down in here as well, even though I'm going to be glazing some other colors on it. So I want a little more saturation. Cool. All right. Now, I am going to try to capture that shadow through here with these violets and just a smidge more blue right in there. All right, so this is where some nice dry brush can come into play. It's still wet right there, right where I've been working. So we're just going to kind of come in. I'm going to catch that shadow. Some of that dry brush. It's going to come right up along in here as well. Just the contrast is what I'm working with. Throw some of that, again, dry brush right in through here. Directional, leading lines. It's the crunchiness that is so exciting. Trying to get a sense of those windrows. All right. And there's even some spots. There we go. That's looking pretty good. All right, that's a big brush. I need to feather some of those spots out a little bit. Go back to my miniature brush, get some of that really dark darks again. And we're going to start doing a little more definition work. Oh, I need some of this color right there. There we go. All right, so now we're going to come after it. There we go. So we're really working in structure again, putting enough marks, contrasting marks, to add the separation, find those shapes, link them together. There we go. Get my big brush again. Get some oranges. Scrub in a little more contrast, a little more saturation. And these are fun because you can be inventive. You can find the creativity in this. And I'm in the danger of overworking it right at the moment. Come in and get a little darker purple. I'm just going to come in here, just in this far distance. I'm just going to throw in another layer of tree lines in that far distance, just to build a little more depth in that horizon line. All right. And last but not least, we'll mix in, get my highlights here. Just going to dab a few around. Those little jewels. There we go. Throw a few down in here. And pretty soon we'll have us a nice looking hay bale. All right, there we go. That's our little landscape scene. It was a lot of fun. We used reference as just kind of a jumping off point. We got a little more inventive in the sky. We worked with essentially the same color palette we see in the photograph, but we got inventive and creative with it, and hopefully worked with our basic stages and states of watercolor and working with our color theory. All those things coming together in a fairly straightforward, simple shape type landscape. So I hope you liked doing that one. So if you got any value out of this little tutorial, please give me a like and a subscribe. Drop me a comment. Tell me how I'm doing. If you want any resources on figure drawing, there are all sorts of things over in my website that you can download. Links are in the video description. I also have affiliate links for supplies and tools and paints and everything. Go into the video description, use those links, get in there, buy some stuff. If you do, I do get a small commission from Amazon from those. And if you think I'm doing anything on this channel that you would like to financially support, head over to my Patreon channel and give me a $5 a month membership. Hopefully soon there's going to be additional benefits for being a member. So, hey, I really do appreciate it because I know you guys are working hard out there, and I want to give you the content that you need to be successful on your creative journey. So I hope to see you in the next tutorial. See you then.